Oh, I got a musical interlude. That's wonderful. Brilliant. Thank you for that. Thank you for coming out tonight, Reading. Really appreciate you. Realize that it's a free show, but you still did take the time to come out. And my name is Jeff, although professionally I do go by Jeffrey. And sometimes that does confuse people, and they ask, do you prefer to be called Jeff or Jeffrey? To which I say, if you've ever known a Jeff or a Jeffrey that you just didn't care for, just call me the other one. Because we've all known a Jeff or a Jeffrey that we just didn't really like, right? Whether he was that, kid who used to pull your hair when you were in 5th grade, or, the guy who beat you up for your lunch money at work last week. Well, anyway, this is what I look like. Sorry about that. It's my parents' fault entirely, because clearly my father is English and my mother is the comedian Carrot Top. Now, when I was younger, I had no idea what it was that I would want to do with this ridiculous hair. I had no idea how I would want to cut it or style it or anything like that, so I just left it alone. And after a while, I ended up with these long, flowing, luxurious locks. You can imagine it, right? No? Oh, that hurts. All right. But anyway, the joke that I used to tell at that time was, I figured if I ignore the problem long enough, it'll go away. And then it did. Anybody else here suffer from anxiety? Yeah, a couple of us. I also suffer from anxiety, but not nearly as bad as when I was a little kid. And it's entirely my parents' fault. They meant well, but they just kind of did it the wrong way. So for example, my father, when I was 3 years old, decided he wanted to take me to a drive-in movie theater. Now, just in case anybody's not familiar, that's one of those movie theaters. It's outdoors, you wait till it's dark out, they project the movie on a screen and you watch it from your car. By the way, this is the only kind of movie theater it's acceptable to take a 3-year-old to. Otherwise, you're an asshole. So, he took me to go see the Walt Disney classic, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Problem is, he got tired and wanted to leave before the movie was over. Now, I say he got tired, but in reality, he had finished his 6-pack. Now, this was the 1980s, so yes, drinking and driving was most definitely illegal, but mostly it was just kind of frowned upon, assuming you're white. So we ended up leaving the show early, and thus my anxiety. So if you want to give your 3-year-old anxiety, do exactly what my dad did. Show your kids Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and right at the moment where Snow White takes a bite of the apple, poison apple, and falls down dead, turn the movie off. Put your kid to bed. No. You don't need a bedtime story. You've just watched a movie. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. No, there's no monster in your closet, I promise. Uncle Sean's in prison upstate now. And then, as if to double down on this anxiety issue that I was already having, when I was 4 years old, my mother decided to tell me, Jeffrey, you are allergic to dirt. To dirt. Okay, 2 big problems with that. Number one, I was 4 years old. I had no idea what an allergy was. For all I could remember, I thought Snow White was allergic to apples. Yeah. Number 2, there's dirt everywhere. Everywhere. So you can just imagine 4-year-old kid with obsessive compulsive disorder constantly washing his hands like he's Lady Macbeth saying, out damn spot, out I say. Of course, I did realize later that it was all a bunch of BS. I was not, in fact, allergic to dirt. But what happened was, just a few years ago, I was sitting in my car at a stoplight, lost in thought, and it suddenly hit me. She didn't want me to get dirty. And that was how she did it. Fortunately for me, she never did look under my mattress. But that's okay, because I definitely do have some other allergies. For example, I'm allergic to not saying please and thank you. Oh, wait. Okay, so I'm 43 years old, which means that I'm not young, maybe teenagers and 20-year-olds, thereabouts, they're going to look at me and they're going to say, well, you're older. And people who are my age and older, they look back at me, they don't think, well, you're young. And there's only one circumstance under which I will ever be called young again, and that's in my obituary. Assuming I die soon. I'm trying to avoid having that happen, so I'm trying to make some healthier decisions in life. However, I am allergic to exercise. So I've been trying to eat healthier. I've been eating a lot more salads recently. And my favorite salad dressing? Cheese Whiz. Now I understand that you laugh at that, but no, I've actually looked into it. Cheese Whiz is not as bad as it seems. For example, Cheese Whiz does not have any cheese in it. That's why they're legally required to misspell cheese on the label. Not only that, and this is entirely true, Cheese Whiz has properties that will help the body to burn fat. And it also has properties that will help to reduce the risk of cancer. That's why I make sure to down a whole jar every morning with my morning cigarette. Now, before I move on, I do think that it is important that I go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Yes, I am wearing a kilt. I like wearing a kilt. In fact, I own 3 of them. Now, it does occur to me that there may be some gentlemen in the audience tonight who think to themselves, yeah, I could rock a kilt, for sure. And I totally recommend it. However, I do have to give you a little bit of warning. Something that not only can, but will eventually happen to you. The kilt is the only article of clothing that I can think of where complete strangers will suddenly feel very comfortable walking right up to you and asking about your underwear situation.
Yeah, baby.
What they'll say is, so, are you a true Scotsman? What they're really saying is, are you wearing underwear today? Now, yeah, not at all creepy, right? It's not exactly the same thing. Yeah, you're wearing jeans today or trousers. If I came up to you, we're perfect strangers, and I say, so, boxers or briefs? See, creepy, right? When you're wearing a kilt, still creepy. Okay, now you may have noticed that I did mention gentlemen for that, and I did sort of exclude the ladies. And that was not an intentionally sexist thing. It's simply that if you're a lady, I assume that no matter what you're wearing, people are going to ask you about your underwear every day. Now, I've had a really good time with this class. I really appreciate everything that I've been learning from Dan as well as from my classmates. Thank you, everybody. I do recommend that you take this class. If you have any interest in doing some stand-up comedy, this is a great class to take for that. And towards the end of our class time, one of the things that Dan suggested that we do is, as comics, come up with some goals for where we want to go and what we want to do. So short-term goals and long-term goals, and I haven't really thought of what goals I want to have. But I have, however, come up with 3 long-term goals that are not related. And I like to have achievable goals. So, first goal, which I do think is achievable, I would like to outlive Sylvester Stallone. Now, he's a fantastic actor, he's still working, he's still killing it, but he's also 35 years older than I am. I think this is an achievable goal. So then, made it a little bit harder. Goal number 2. I'd like to outlive Tom Cruise. Now, he's only about 20 years older than I am, and so that does give me a bit of an edge, unless it turns out that Scientology's right. But then finally, and this one might not be doable. I'm reaching for it, but here's my hope. I'd like to outlive Keith Richards.
Nope.
Not gonna
Not gonna happen. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I'm gonna hand this back over to Dan.